What's up, guys? Today we're talking about the best running shoes for first-time marathoners. Now, when I first started running, I didn't even have a real pair of running shoes. I used first this old pair of Jordan sneakers. I think they were laceless slip-ons, and then I used an Adidas hiking boot that had boost foam, and then I finally got a real pair of running shoes. It was the Adidas Ultra Boost, which a lot of people consider to not be a legit running shoe, but I put 700 miles on that. So before we get into any of my recommendations here for the 10 best marathon training shoes for first-time marathoners, I just want to say the best shoe if you want to get started and get out there is whatever athletic shoe you have in your closet. You just put it on, turn that knob, and start getting some miles in. Now with that, a lot of the shoes that are on this list are going to offer a lot more comfort, a lot more support, a lot more cushioning underfoot. That's what most of the top marathon training shoes and marathon racing shoes on the market have. Soft, bouncy foams that give you a lot of cushioning and impact absorption for your joints, and some features like rockered platforms, which we'll discuss, which make it easier to run fast with lower effort than a normal athletic shoe or sneaker. So with that, most important thing is to get started. Last thing I want to know is I have personally put at least 200 miles in all of these shoes that I'm going to highlight here, and these are the ones that I've found to be the friendliest for first-time marathoners. All right, let's get into it. So the way that I've structured this list, there are 4 categories of shoes. You have your everyday running shoes, you have your speed running shoes, you have your more cushioned shoes, and then long run shoes. And there's gonna be some overlap between these two, and sometimes I'll structure my categories a little bit differently. But for the sake of first time runners who are approaching the marathon distance, these 4 are gonna be what you want to pull for day after day and gonna make up the bulk of your marathon training miles. So with that, let's get into my first section here, which is the everyday running shoes, also known as daily trainers. So the daily trainer that I would recommend for most people out there who are starting to run a marathon is the Hoka Mach 5. Now, this is a lightweight cushioned shoe that can do a variety of runs. It can do any type of work you throw at it. And that's why it's my recommendation for a marathon training everyday running shoe. Now, I personally put 300 plus miles on this pair in 2023. I took it to the beach. I used it on the treadmill. I did 2 of my fastest miles, 5 minute something miles in it at the track. This is a really versatile shoe. I also did 16 plus mile long runs in it. It can handle any type of work. Now, the downside is some runners don't get the most durability out of this shoe. So if you are going to go with the Hoka Mach 5, you need to know it doesn't have a rubber outsole. So it's not going to have the most grip in the rain. And then also it's not going to have the most protection from the foam underfoot. So if you do get this shoe as your everyday running shoe, you might want to consider either a cushioned shoe to pair with it, a max stack shoe with a thick rubber outsole, or a more speed oriented plated shoe that's also a little bit on the more durable side. So just remember that as we're going through the rest of these recommendations. So my second recommendation in the everyday running category is a bit different than the Mach 5. It is the Nike Pegasus. Now this is a very traditional take on the daily trainer. It has a 10 millimeter drop, meaning that the offset between the stack of the heel and the stack of the forefoot is 10 millimeters. It has a moderate amount of cushioning. It's not too high and it's not too low. It has a nice flexible forefoot, which is something that I look for in a daily trainer. When you're running a lot of miles, you want some shoes that offer a degree of flexibility because that allows you to build up your foot strength. It also allows you to use some of those muscles in your lower legs a bit more than a rockered shoe like the Mach 5 or some of these other plated shoes will. Now, Pegasus is also a great shoe because, as we know, Nike is a reliable brand. They're found everywhere, and this shoe is very cheap. It can be found for $70 right now at Dick's Sporting Goods, and it looks great. So if you're not sure whether you're going to keep running after the marathon, if you want something that you can pull for the gym as well, then the Pegasus is a great choice. It's one of the best value per mile shoes on the market. I put 100 plus miles on my pair last year and it's still kicking. I use it for travel use, walked through it in the airport, took it to the World Trade Center last week when I had a business meeting in New York. Very reliable shoe that can do anything you need it to. You can also pick up the pace. I did some great half marathon workouts in my Pegasus last year. All right, guys, next up, we are getting into the speed training category of running shoes. So I'm going to give 2 recommendations here. The first one is the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3. So this is a nice cushioned speed training shoe with this soft Power Run PB foam from Saucony. It's a PEBA-based compound. PEBA is a soft and bouncy racing foam. It's the same thing that's in the Nike Vaporfly and Nike Alphafly. It's one of the fastest foams out there. It gives you a lot of energy return. So as you're picking up the pace, it's going to give you that pop and zing, that bounce back when you're trying to dig in and run fast. So there's also also a plastic plate in here, which again helps with energy return, helps give a little snap to it. It's not going to be the most rigid platform, so if you don't like having a super firm shoe underfoot, this is a great choice, but it's just enough support so that when you want to run fast, you get a little bit more than you would out of a non-plated shoe. The Speed 3 is very easy to run in. It's one of the most fun shoes to run in. And that's because it has this rocker profile down here, so you can see it looks like a canoe bottom, and it just rolls along at any pace. Now, as I said, some of these categories will have overlap, and this is a shoe that can do speed as well as long run. Now, I recommend this for people who aren't going to be finishing sub 3 hours, sub 2 hour 50. If you think you're going to be finishing in the 4 hour range or 3:30 range, this is a great shoe for your speed work. This is a great shoe for your long runs. If you're coming from a track background or you're a bit faster, maybe you're trying to go for that sub 3 hour, sub 250, I personally find this a little bit too soft for my liking. I'm also 6'2", 160 pounds, so I think for bigger runners, you might want something a little bit more firm and rigid or a little bit lower to the ground, which brings me to my next recommendation. So the second speed shoe option I have here is the New Balance Rebel V3. So this is going to be a great option for those shorter marathon training style speed sessions. So if you have a track background and you're going to be working in a lot of interval training sessions into your marathon training build, the Rebel is a great choice. It's low to the ground, has this soft and bouncy foam, and it gives you a little bit of ground feel so that you can feel the road as you're running along. Now, this is not going to be the best shoe for brand new runners who need a little bit more support, who want a little bit more cushion for their speed efforts. So that's why I'm recommending it only if you have a running background, if you have a track background and you're approaching the marathon. This is going to feel very similar to what you're probably used to running in. A little bit of a less cushion style shoe for that speed work. I've also taken the shoe up to 16 miles. So for 2 hour long runs, it is a viable choice if you are a more efficient runner. All right, guys, next up here, we're getting into the cushioned category. So this category is going to be good for your slower everyday running days and also for your long runs where you don't have any workout pace prescribed. So my top choice here, which I've put 250 miles in over the past few months, is the New Balance 1080 V13. So this is New Balance's cushioned everyday running shoe. It uses New Balance's fresh foam formula, which is their more relaxed training foam. They also have Fuel Cell, which is in that Rebel that we were just talking about, and that's a little bit of a faster foam. This is a nice laid back feel. I love this for just cruising along. For the majority of your marathon training runs are going to be in this everyday running pace, conversational pace, what we call zone 2. And I think the 1080 V13 is the best zone 2 style running shoe out there. Everything about the shoe is soft and comfortable. It has a nice soft upper, the tongue is padded, and that fresh foam is just the perfect amount of cushioning underfoot without feeling like it's too much, without feeling like you're fighting against the foam. I would recommend this to anybody out there. This is my top pick in the category by far. I don't think there's any runner that this wouldn't work for. It is just an all-around awesome shoe, and especially for the first-time marathoner, this is a great choice for something that's going to protect your legs while you are ramping up into this higher mileage style of training. Now, my second recommendation here is the Asics Gel-Nimbus 25. Now, this is another shoe which I've put 250 plus miles on. I like it a little bit less than the 1080 personally because it has a higher stack of foam underfoot. It feels a little bit softer, and it wasn't as durable for me. Once I got it up past that 220 mile mark, foam felt like it was starting to lose a little bit of life, not giving me as much back as that 1080 still is. However, some runners, particularly lighter runners, maybe more efficient runners, really like this shoe as even an everyday running shoe, as a long run shoe. I felt like I had to work a little bit too much to get it going, to get it turnover. But if you are a lighter runner, maybe under 150 pounds, or if you really want something super cushioned, then the Gel-Nimbus is going to be a good choice. I will say the other thing that the Gel-Nimbus 25 has over the 1080 V13 is that it's on sale right now for $125. That's because the Gel-Nimbus 26 just came out a few days ago, and that one is retailing for $160. So you can get a deal on the Gel-Nimbus 25 for $125. I would recommend going with the 1080 V13 because it's an all-around better shoe, even though you are going to be paying a little bit of a price premium. In my opinion, for marathon training, it's worth it. But again, lighter, more efficient runners might prefer the Gel-Nimbus. Now, my last recommendation for a cushioned marathon training shoe here is the Saucony Endorphin Shift 3. Now, this is the shoe that I put the most miles on out of any shoe on this list. I took it past past 350 miles in 2023. And what this is going to offer versus the other two shoes is a bit more of a structured, firmer ride underfoot. So if you're a bigger runner, a stronger, more powerful runner, and you don't like the feeling of these soft foam, if you've tried max cushion shoes in the past and you just don't like the feeling of the super squishy marshmallowy foam underneath your foot, Saucony Endorphin Shift 3 is going to be the shoe for you. It's way more stable than any of those other max cushion shoes. It has this little plastic heel clip out in the back, which adds that support. And then like the Saucony Endorphin Shift 3, which is the speed training version of this shoe, it has that rocker profile underfoot, which makes it very easy to run along in the shoe. So even though it's not the softest in the world, it really rolls you along and gives you a lot of speed assistance at any pace, makes it easy to maintain whatever type of effort you're going for. This is also one of the best sleeper deals on the market right now. It's priced at $80. Outside of the Pegasus, you're not going to find any better value, and especially for a max cushion shoe, this is the best buy. So if you're a bigger runner and you want something supportive for marathon training, go ahead and check out the Shift 3. All right, guys, last here we have the long run and race day category. I'm going to combine these. So this category of shoes, these are the plated shoes. These are going to be the shoes that you pull for those long runs where you have marathon race pace. They also can be used for tempo workouts during the week. So again, if you have structured workouts where you're practicing your marathon race pace, you're going to want to use these shoes, whatever shoe you decide to go for race day. So some first-time marathoners might not want a carbon-plated shoe. You might want to use your cushion training shoe for race day, and you could totally run a marathon in the 1080 V13 or the Gel-Nimbus. However, they're not going to be the peppiest once you get past that 2.5-3 hour mark, and that's where this plated category of shoes comes in. It gives you just a little bit more in return when you're tired than a non-plated shoe. So my first pick in this category, the shoe that is going to be the best for most runners, is the New Balance SC Trainer V2. Now this is a shoe that I picked up recently for $140, and this weekend it's actually on sale for $122 at New Balance. I will put the link in the description. They take the 15% off at checkout. But this is a carbon fiber plated shoe that isn't as aggressive feeling as a lot of the other plated training shoes and racing shoes on the market, and even against other plated training shoes like the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3 and the Boston 12, it has a more of a relaxed cushion character. So you can see as I push in this foam here, it is super squishy, super cushioned, but because it has, again, this rocker profile with the bouncy foam and the plate, that gives it the perfect combination of support and speed. Now, I've taken the shoe up to 22 miles. For me, that took about 2 hours and 50 minutes at my relaxed long run pace, so I can verify that this is a great shoe for those distances. At the end, I didn't feel like I was bottoming out, which is an issue that I had in the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3, which is why I'm not recommending it for this long run category. This provides just enough support while still being able to go fast, and all the foam you're getting underfoot will protect your legs up past that 3 hour mark. Now, if you are targeting a fast time in the marathon, say you want to finish under 3 hours and 30 minutes or finish under 3 hours, you might want something a little bit more aggressive, and that's where the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3 comes in. This is a great shoe for both long runs and race day because, again, like that SC Trainer V2, it's not as harsh as some of the other plated shoes on the market. However, the foam in here compared to that SC Trainer V2 is much bouncier, it's a little bit firmer, and this carbon fiber plate is also a little bit more rigid than we have in the SC Trainer V2. This is also going to come in at a lighter weight. It's in the 7-ounce range for men versus the SC Trainer V2 is in the 9-ounce range, and the upper here is going to be a lot lighter weight. So overall, this is a little bit more of an aggressive racing shoe. It is a true marathon distance shoe. I've taken this one up to, well, I've actually taken my other pair of this up to 26.2 miles. I raced the Charlotte Marathon in it. And then recently I took my other pair of these, the pink ones, up to 23 miles as well. So I can attest, super comfortable shoe for those long distances, and with the carbon fiber plate, it does have a little bit of pop in it. Now, for runners who want the best marathon racing shoe, the best cushioned plated shoe out there, I would suggest the Nike Vaporfly Next Percent 3. So the Vaporfly is the shoe that started this whole category of cushioned racing shoes. Before the Vaporfly, the industry standard was racing flats, which were these super minimal, almost no foam, just a thin little strip of rubber underneath with a little bit of cushion in between your foot and that rubber in the ground. The Vaporfly came around, changed all that with Pegasus, introduced that into the market in their Zoom X formula, and added that carbon fiber plate in, and the rest is history. That is now the standard across all the brands. So the Vaporfly is a more aggressive character than the Pro 3 and the SC Trainer V2. Pro 3 sits in between those two. The Vaporfly is going to be the most narrow, it's going to be the lightest weight, it's going to have the smallest heel area to land on. It is a speed-oriented shoe, And if you can run with strength for the entirety of the marathon, it is a great option. Now, it's definitely not the most aggressive marathon racing shoe on the market, and that's why I'm recommending it for first-time marathoners out there. It still does have a little bit more of a forgiving character to it than something like the Nike Alphafly. Now, I've done long runs in the Vaporfly. I've raced a half marathon in the Vaporfly. It is a fast shoe. It has a nice floaty sensation, and that carbon fiber plate, while you can feel you're getting a little bit of pop off the toe in it, it's not going to come through too much and give too much of a harsh ride. The Vaporfly is my favorite racing shoe by far, so if you want the best of the best for race day and for your long runs where you're going to be going out there fast and practicing pace, this is what you got to get: Nike Vaporfly Next% 3. All right, guys, if you have any questions about the shoes that I've covered, please drop them below. Also, go to runningshoematcher.com if you want to find out which one of these is going to be best for you, and you can check out supwell.io, which is my website. I built it to help everybody find the right running shoe for them. You can find my picks there in the Our Picks tab. You can find the best deals of the week there, and then of course you can find that Shoe Matcher tool there in the Shoe Matcher tab. So as always, thanks for watching, and I'll be back tomorrow with another video.